Alright, here we go. Top 10 movies of 2023. I get it. It's late. We want to move on from 2023 films. We're several weeks removed from the 2024 Oscars, but I just wanted to get this out there. And, yeah, let's press forward. Before I mention my top 10 movies of 2023, let's talk about some honorable mentions. 5 honorable mentions that you will see from left to right in the order of furthest from entering into the 10 and to the closest of entering into the 10, but just missing out. Air, Elemental, Fair Play, May December, and Anatomy of a Fall. Yeah, I really liked Air, and I absolutely loved Elemental, Fair Play, May December, and especially Anatomy of a Fall, which was the closest to entering my top 10, but just barely missing out. And it missed out to my number 10 film of 2023, Past Lives. The hype was real. Um, and I'm really glad that I liked this movie as much as I did. I was very excited to watch it ever since I kept hearing about it over and over again. Quiet Eyes, the original song, was beautiful. It articulated some of the emotions that were felt in this movie, and I think there were some things articulated during um, the conversation between uh, two of the leads, Ha Sung, played by Teo Yu, and Nora, played by Greta Lee, while they were at a bar. There were some there was definitely some things communicated that are really deep. This movie is deeply profound. The direction, the screenwriting, incredible, deeply emotional. There are no villains in this movie. I believe this is an autobiography of the director, Celine Song, and I enjoyed it very much so. The ending was also very powerful too. What you As you can see on your screen, there is I have pros. I don't have cons for this movie. I couldn't really think of any cons against this movie. And some movies on this list are going to have cons. Others are just going to have pros. That's going to be a common thing, a theme. Another common theme that you're going to hear is me talking about the ending. Well, not spoiling the ending, but just saying that the ending was great. So I gave this movie a 9 out of 10. Speaking of 9, number 9, Barbie. So this movie was hilarious. It was definitely the most fun I had watching a movie. I guess besides another movie that we'll get to later at number 2 on this list. Bright, colorful, amazing production designs and costumes. In my opinion, it had the best costumes of the year, but losing to Poor Things, that's fine. Poor Things also had great costumes too. Um, Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie's acting was pretty spectacular, I would say. I think Gosling definitely stole the show, uh, and that "I'm Just Ken" number is highly memorable. The "I'm Just Ken" performance at the Oscars was also incredible. I love "Dance of the Night" from Dua Lipa. I love "What Was I Made For" from Billie Eilish. Had Those were just some great songs. And there were parts of the movie that nearly made me cry. I think that Ariana Greenblatt's character was kind of annoying. Although I do understand that she represents some of the frustrations that Gen Z or just future generations after the creation of Barbie have been feeling with regards to how insecure it has made women, um, or at least according to them, how insecure they feel as Barbie has made women. But I just felt like the character overall was was not great. Outside of that, I really enjoyed this movie. It's very well written, and I'm glad Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach did their thing. Uh, 9 out of 10. Number 8, Killers of the Flower Moon. Scorsese doing his thing, giving this movie his usual directorial flourishes that I always love. And Leonardo DiCaprio got snubbed. I stand by that. He got snubbed. Should have been in that five. What a fantastic performance. Maybe my favorite of the three. Between him, De Niro, and Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone, very good. Rob De Niro uh, was a splendid performance. One of his best in recent years. But man, Leo was just outstanding. Love the costumes. Love the art direction. I love the song Wazaze, a song for my people, that plays at the end of this movie. I love the performance that they gave at the Oscars. That was awesome. Um, this was well written. This was very tense throughout. And but we of course I knew this was all the things that were going to happen in this movie because this is a story about the Osage murders and whatnot. And it just simply is one of the best movies of the year. I walked out of I came out of this movie being like, Scorsese, you did it again. Master of cinema. 9 out of 10. Number 7, Maestro. Uh, Makeup and prosthetics are my favorite of the year, but I don't mind it losing to Poor Things because that also had great prosthetics as well. Cinematography, sound design, music. Well, music was mostly, the Bernstein music and whatnot, but still beautiful. And of course, the performances. Bradley Cooper gives my favorite lead actor performance of the year. Carey Mulligan, interestingly enough, I actually thought was a little bit better than Bradley Cooper, even though she gave my second favorite lead actress performance of the year behind Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall. But they were just both fantastic in this movie. And I really liked the direction where they took Leonard Bernstein's story and to discuss their and this really is a romance story. This really is a love story between Leonard and Felicia Montenegro Bernstein, and I just enjoyed the Mahler's Fifth scene that Bradley Cooper did when he was going crazy with the conducting. That I almost gave that scene a standing ovation. uh, I enjoyed the dialogue, the music dialogue. There was a scene where um, um, Leonard Bernstein was talking about a particular piece toward the beginning of the movie. He was talking about something that has to do with counterpoint. Um, as a musician myself, I kind of dug it. In terms of dialogue, though, some of the dialogue was spoken in the movie a little too fast. Not necessarily, not just in like the music dialogue, but other dialogue portions of the movie as well. Some of it was a little too fast, and they needed to slow down. And some of the line delivery from Bradley Cooper, as much as I love his performance, was kind of awful. Like I didn't like, "I'm reining it in, I'm reining it in." I didn't like that whatsoever. But nonetheless, I love his performance overall. Uh, and there are some memorable supporting characters as well. I think his sister, Bradley, sorry, Bradley Bernstein's sister, played by Sarah Silverman, was memorable. Also, there was a scene with Leonard Bernstein and his daughter where had they had a shot of Bernstein's face that lasted for a very long time that I thought was powerful. And yeah, and I like the ending of this movie as well. It's very good. It's a great movie overall. It really did not deserve the hate that it got from Twitter or from other places. 9 out of 10. Number 6, The Holdovers. This movie rocks. This movie rocks because the way that Alexander Payne directs these characters, and also the actors' performances overall. The actors' performances overall. You really fall in love with all three of these characters. You really do. And um, Paul Giamatti gives an incredible performance. Um, I think he plays a character named. I think the name of the character is Paul in the movie. Uh, Davine Joy Randolph plays a character named Mary Lamb. Um, and uh, she I think deserved the Oscar for that performance. Even though my favorite performance in that supporting actor category at the Oscar was Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, she was almost equally deserving. So I'm really glad she won. And Dominic Sessa was very good too. These are very well realized full dimensional characters, and I was feeling very emotional throughout a large portion of this movie, throughout most of this movie actually, because I like understood. I was I felt where these characters were coming from, and it just made me love them all the more. Very lovely characters. I wish there weren't a few unanswered questions about some of Angus's motivations behind some of his actions, but other than that, fantastic movie. 9 out of 10. Number 5, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Insane visuals, insane visual prowess, insane visual flourishes, a great story. It has great character arcs. Gwen Stacy's character arc is my favorite. Miles Morales' character arc is standard, but pretty well done. Pretty well done overall because of what happens at the end of this movie. Another great ending. Excited for Beyond the Spider Verse. Um, and there are a lot of spider characters in this movie and some of which I don't think I knew about, which is fantastic. They all did the pointy thing, the point gag in this movie, and we saw that in the trailer. It was hilarious, and the movie's music is also great. I kind of like the original song "Am I Dreaming," and great voice performances too, from Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Jake Johnson, and Oscar Isaac, and even Issa Rae. Some of the sound design was off. There were several parts of the movie that kind of dragged for too long as well. This movie definitely started to feel like a drag at a certain point, but then it won me over in the last like 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. Um, there were actually multiple moments where it was bringing me back to the action, or it was bringing me back, and there were some really high emotional stakes that were happening. So I applaud this movie overall. 9 out of 10. It's not. I don't think it's as good as the first movie, but it's a really strong movie. The first movie, Into the Spider Verse, I gave it 10 out of 10. This movie, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Number 4, my first 10 out of 10 on this list is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, a movie that I think the whole world should see. The whole world should see it. It's about a girl who prays to God and lives her whole life and is living her life um, uh, in response to whatever answers that God leaves her. That's interesting to me. Wow, it just leaves a very big smile on my face. Um, the ensemble's fantastic. The I think Benny Safdie plays one of the best dads I've seen, but one of the best movie dads I've seen on film in recent years. I really like Rachel McAdams. I really like Kathy Bates, and I definitely love Abby Ryder Fortson's performance in this movie. Abby Ryder Fortson, um, Marvel alumni, who played Cassie Lang in the first two Ant-Man films. Yeah, I think she's got a bright future ahead of her in her career. Um, and also, this is easily the funniest movie of the year, by far, hands down. Again, fully realized characters and another spectacular ending to a movie. I love this movie. It's a masterpiece. It's 10 out of 10. Number 3, Best Picture winner Oppenheimer. Uh Nolan operates on this level the way yeah, Nolan is operating in this movie. Nolan is operating on a level that I'm kind of used to seeing him operate. You know, with The Dark Knight Rises, Inception, Interstellar. Like, yeah, I'm a huge Nolan fan, and I'm glad that my favorite director of all time, currently, which is Christopher Nolan, won two Oscars, one for directing and one for producing. I'm glad that his wife Emma Thomas also won for producing, won Best Picture, and this movie fires on all cylinders, just like The Dark Knight, just like Interstellar, just like Inception. Like the direction, the writing, the acting. Oh my goodness, the what, the music, the cinematography, the production design, the costumes, the makeup toward the end of the movie, especially with Killian and Benny Safdie and Emily Blunt. Also, the makeup on the actor that played Albert Einstein. Nice. Very intriguing dialogue, I gotta say. Um, but that's for me. That's like commonplace with Nolan movies. Like the dialogue is always very intriguing and very fascinating and very fun to listen to. Yeah, what more can I say? This is an incredible motion picture and definitely one of the best biopics that I've seen. Like in this entire, I guess, century. Well, certainly the decade. 10 out of 10. Masterpiece. Number 2, Poor Things. Um, you know, before making this list, a part of me wish wishes that this movie was my number 1. But, it's fine. I I love this movie and I really love my number 1. Um I think this movie's loads of fun. It's very funny. The dialogue is so funny. I mean, furious jumping is those are two words when put together. Those are just that's iconic. That is an iconic phrase right there. Furious jumping. Um, this is a very well told story with great costumes, great visual flair, great um visual again like with Spider Verse visual flourishes. We see the world of England through Bella's eyes. It's and the world of England in this movie is sort of like a combination of old school period with some futuristic elements in it. It's very unique. This movie is very unique, and Emma Stone is giving the best performance of her entire career, easily, and one of the best. performances I've seen uh, on screen for one of the best leading performances I've seen on screen in years. I'm glad she won the Oscar. Mark Ruffalo is great. Willem Dafoe is great, and I even liked Rami Youssef. He was very good too. I even like Jared Carmichael. Like for the little time, for the little screen time he had, he made good use of it. And I enjoyed Catherine Hunter as well. Um, Also Christopher Abbott, I think, is in this movie to some extent. Uh, yeah, this movie kind of dragged for me. Um, Toward like the middle of the movie, like the middle of the second act. But then it brought me back when something happens and it made me go, oh, okay, we're doing this now. I didn't expect it. Like it was kind of a roller coaster. At first, it started off on a real high, then it was whittling its way a bit lower, but it was still pretty high for me. And then it started to dip a little bit, and then it just brought me back up at a certain point in the movie, and it landed in a place that I didn't. Uh, it landed in a place that I kind of expected it to land, just not in the way that I expected it to land. But it worked for me. Once again, masterpiece, 10 out of 10. And finally, number one, the zone of interest. Wow. Wow. A lot to think about. A lot to think about in terms of human ignorance. A lot to think about in terms of um, uh, um, humanity at its worst. Uh, and just a lot to think about in general. Sandra Hüller gives a very good performance in this movie. Um, Not as good as she does in Anatomy of a Fall, but I really liked her performance here. The fact that Auschwitz is happening outside the walls of this home, and you're hearing it without actually seeing it, that's haunting. That is truly haunting. I think my Letterboxd review for this movie was just one word: chills. um, because the thematic material speaks for itself, and the ending of this movie very memorable and very symbolic. Just the way it was shot and the way it was executed. Um, there was some symbolism there. I meant to say, yeah, yeah, there was some symbolism there. I really like the score and the cinematography of the movie. But what else can I say that hasn't already been said about this film? Masterpiece, best movie of the year, 10 out of 10. And for the record, every movie that I give a 10 out of 10, I consider it to be a masterpiece. Well, that's it. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, shalom.